is my tea? Hey everyone, it's Lacey. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm very excited for this video. I already tried filming this and I kept going off topic and all of that. As you can tell, I'm congested. I just had a fever last night. I feel so much better. Yeah, it's just been a crazy week for me so far. And yeah, but I really wanted to do this video. I just got like a huge burst of energy because I don't know about you guys, but if I'm sick, like really sick, and then I start feeling better, then I just have all of this energy. I slept for like 12 hours straight, and now I'm just like, I feel so much better. And yeah, so I'm gonna try and stay on topic for this video because I'm really excited about it and I don't want editing to be like a huge mess. So anyway, grab yourself something to drink or a snack. I'm drinking some peppermint tea. Trust me, I sound a lot more worse than how I feel. It's just my crazy voice. But yeah, let's get into this video. So I'm going to be sharing my favorite reads of the year. I'm also going to be talking about my reading year in general in the year 2021 because it was a good reading year. Not necessarily like the amount that I read, even though I did surpass my reading challenge, which I did want to briefly talk about how I think going into the year 2022, I'm not going to do a reading challenge, just because I feel like when I do a challenge, it takes away from the enjoyment of like the hobby. And for me, reading is really enjoyable. I also really like to watch movies and TV shows and play video games, but I never set a challenge for that, so I don't know why I should set a reading challenge, because to me, I get the same enjoyment out of watching a movie or a TV show or playing video games as I do with reading a book. So that's one thing that I'm going to be doing a little bit differently. But, okay, that was a weird noise. But, yeah, I read a lot of great books, and it was a little difficult to narrow down to my top 5. I could have done a top 10, but I really just wanted to pick a handful of my all-time favorites of the year and just talk about those. It was also my year of rediscovering the library. I haven't been to a library in a really long time, and I went for the first time in like 3 years, like this past fall, and I missed it so much. And yeah, I definitely am excited to use and utilize the library a lot more, so I'm excited about that. I also discovered my love for audiobooks, which I didn't think I would ever like. To me, it always, like, if anyone had counted an audiobook as reading, obviously it counts. It does. But I just didn't understand the enjoyment. I thought that I would just kind of, everything would go over my head, but it didn't. And I really like audiobooks, and I love music, but sometimes when I'm driving in the car, I don't want to listen to music, and so I would pop in a audiobook, and I loved it. So I read some fun and interesting audiobooks this year, and I'll talk a little bit more about those when I talk about my favorites. And then I also discovered my love for book clubs and buddy reads. I did a few buddy reads, and I joined a book club this year, and it was really exciting, and I'm loving it. I cannot wait to continue that. I have a couple of buddy reads set up for next year, and then I plan on continuing participating in the book clubs that I'm in already, so I'm really excited about that. And then I also got a Kindle for Christmas, so I'm really excited to start reading some more ebooks. So I love physical books, but I have a lot of physical books, and sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. Plus, e-readers are just really good for traveling with, I guess, even if I'm not going that far. It's just easier to just put the little thing in my bag and then, you know, have it there to read. So yeah, that's some things I just wanted to discuss, like new discoveries I made for the year 2021 when it comes to reading, and I'm just really excited. So yeah, I will talk about my favorite books now. So I have top 5 favorite books. 2 of them I don't have physical copies of because I borrowed them from the library. And then I do have some honorable mentions that I want to talk about. As coming in at number 5 is The Silent Patient by Alex Mcleins. This one is a thriller about a artist who kills her husband. She shoots him 5 times, and then she just never speaks about it. And then a criminal psychotherapist is really interested in this case and decides to take it on and figure out like what actually went down. And it was just such a cozy and perfect read. I love Alex's writing style. I find it to be so cozy and good. And yeah, he also became one of my favorite authors of 2021. The next book is The Vanishing Half by Brit, Bennett. I don't have a copy because it was the library's. This book I just finished like a few weeks ago, and it was so good. It's about twin sisters who are black, but they're very light-skinned, that they can be mistaken as being white. And so they both decide to run away from their small town in Louisiana that they were raised in. And one of them goes off and decides to marry a black man, and they have a very dark daughter. And then the other one moves off to California, and she decides to sort of pretend that she's white, and she gets with a white man, and they have a daughter who is very light-skinned and everyone thinks is white. And then these 2 cousins cross paths, and it's just such an interesting story, and I really loved it. I also really love Brit Bennett's writing style. I read The Mothers earlier this year, and I really loved it as well, but The Vanishing Half, I liked it just a tad bit more. I thought it was very good. So I'm excited to read more of Brit Bennett's books whenever she decides to write another one. And coming up at number 3 is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This one is so good. It's a thriller that takes place in a small town at a motel. It's about... So it goes back and forth between 1982 and 2017, and it is about this woman who goes missing, and then I don't know, years later, I guess almost, yeah, a little over 30 years later, her niece comes to figure out where she went and all of that. All she knows is her aunt went missing, and she decides to go to this small town that her aunt went missing at, and tries to solve the mystery. And it was just really good. If you're a fan of like Bates Motel or anything that has to do with like small towns or motels, I think you would really like this one. And number 2 was Baby Teeth by Zoe Stage. I think that's how you pronounce her name. This one was such a crazy, wild book. I loved it so much. It's about a married couple who have a daughter, and the daughter hasn't spoken yet, and she's already 7 years old, and she just will not talk. And then all of a sudden she starts talking to her mom when the father isn't around. She never talks when the father is around, and she talks to the mother and says the most insane things, saying that she's a witch, and just has this crazy hatred for her mother. And it's insane. It was it was a fun read though. I really enjoyed it because it was just a strange story, and yeah, I just really loved it. And coming up at number 1 is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I devoured this book. I loved it to pieces. It was so good. It's about a Hollywood star who has gone through 7 husbands in her lifetime, and then years and years later, no one knows why she went through 7 different husbands, but years and years later she decides to talk about her story, and so it just goes through her life and talks about all the husbands, and you understand why she went through 7 husbands, and just learned a lot more about this actress, and it was just so good. I cried so much at the end, mostly because I was so sad that the story was over. I really hope that they turn this into a movie because it would just make the most perfect movie. It is so good. And now for the honorable mentions. So the first one that I want to talk about is an audiobook that I read. So obviously I don't have a copy because I listened to it on audiobook, and that was The Hating Game, which I'm really thankful for this book because it sort of started my love for, I don't know, I want to say love just yet, but it started my like for romance books. I thought this book was so cute. I understand why a lot of people don't like it, and it's really cheesy and ridiculous, but it was just really good, and it was something that I needed in the moment, and yeah, I just thought it was really fun, and yeah, I really liked it. I know that they just came out with a movie. I'm not sure if I'm gonna watch it though, but yeah, we'll see. And then I have like 3 more honorable mentions. So the other one is Daisy Jones and the Six. This was really hard for me not to include it in my top favorites, but I didn't want to do two different books of the same author, so I kind of just decided between the two which one I liked just a little bit more. I really did like this one though too, a lot. I thought this story was so interesting. I love the characters that Taylor Jenkins Reid writes. I think she makes amazing characters who are flawed and just really interesting characters. This one is about a band from like the 70s or the 80s, I can't remember. And it tells a story about how they came together and then how they broke up. And it's written in interview format, so it's not like a regular novel. It's written like interview format, so where kind of like a documentary style where each character just kind of says something and you move along with the story that way. I thought it would be really confusing to follow the story as it was written that way, but it really wasn't. And I've also heard that the audiobook is really, really good for this. So I might look into that because I definitely plan on rereading this one in the future because it was so good. Next honorable mention that I have is Vengeance Road by Erin Bowman. This one is a YA Western story about revenge. Her father dies and, well, he was murdered, and so she's after this gang of, I don't know what we're calling them, but these gang of writers who murdered her father. And then she figures stuff out about her father, and it was so much fun. I've never read a Western before, so this one was really, really fun. And I also plan on reading the second one soon, which is Retribution Rails. And also these covers are just freaking gorgeous. I love them so much. So yeah, if you haven't read a Western yet, I really recommend that one. And then the last honorable mention that I have is The Maidens by Alex Mcleins. I think I'm saying his last name right. I don't know. Again, along with Taylor Jenkins Reid, I didn't want to include both of the books in my all-time, like, on my top 5 favorite list. I needed to decide between the two. This one was really, really good. I love his writing style, like I've already said, and I love how this one took place in a college. I find that to be so much fun. And this one, the ending really shocked me. It was crazy. And yeah, so this one is just about he writes the main characters as always being some sort of like therapist or psychologist. And this one is, she's a group therapist, and her niece's friend was murdered. So she goes to the college that she also went to college at and tries to help discover, like, or solve the case of who murdered her niece's friend and all of that. And there is this pretty sketchy professor, and he has this like group of ladies called the Maidens who he always hangs out with, and they're students, and it's just kind of odd, but yeah, it was a really good book. And yeah, I really enjoy his writing style. So yeah, those were all of the books that, or not all the books, those were the top 5 favorite books that I had for the year of 2021. Let me know if any of these made your top 5 favorites, or let me know what some books or all of your top 5 favorites were for the year 2021. Do you have any fun reading goals or challenges that you plan on doing for next year? I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye, guys.